Hi, my name is Brian Chang, and this is my book review of Seasonal Velocities by Ryka Aoki. So, Ryka Aoki's Seasonal Velocities is a really beautiful and vulnerable exploration of identity, community, and memory, as well as survival as well. Through the chapters that she sprinkles within the book and her poems, uh, she's able to give voice to the lived experiences of trans individuals, especially trans individuals of color, such as her. And she's able to just use very raw emotion as well as dry humor and a deep insight. So, in a society where trans people are often misrepresented and looked down upon, and disregarded, she uses her voice as both as a necessity and as a way to share her voice and be almost in a way a revolutionary. So one of the most haunting entries in the collection is the poem "My Father Holds Me Like a Bible." This one really stood out to me personally because of some of the shock value, where she reveals the trauma of being raised in a very religious and patriarchal environment. The speaker in the poem describes how their father used them as a tool of performance and punishment, seen in the quote, uses me to preach his glory, treating them as not a child, but as a symbol of power and shame. Religion becomes sort of a double-edged sword, evoked with with an irony of sorrow. The imagery of the back best broken before the foot comes down is really chilling. Because it equates to love and holiness with violence and submission. This poem is able to capture the painful contradiction many queer people and LGBTQ and trans people especially face. The desire for familial love and spiritual acceptance. It's because it's usually met with rejection, manipulation, or abuse. Yet what makes Aoki's work so powerful is that not just the recording and documentation of pain, but the insistence on complexity and community. In the chapter "This House Is Our House," she reflects on her cultural heritage, the queer community dynamics, and the often overlooked intersections of race, gender, and identity. With feelings of warmth, she recounts her family's trip to Japan when she was younger, and how even the smallest gestures, such as rice from a centuries-old family field, how a centuries of family-old field became symbols of belonging and wholeness. And this, in the quote, "This is your rice," her mother tells her, and in that moment, something inside Aoki shifts, even without having made the trip herself. The shared stories give her roots, and Aoki demonstrates how identity is not just something we declare, but something that unfolds through connection, food, and memory, and the quiet affirmations of people that recognize us as their own. This chapter also confronts tensions within queer spaces. Aoki describes attending Dyke Day meetings, where the inclusion is discussed but not always practiced. She reflects often with a touch of sarcasm on the performative nature of outreach, and how even spaces intended for marginalized people and can recreate exclusion, which is contradictory. In the quote, "We're already ourselves," she writes, rejecting the idea that trans women must be reached out to rather than seen as intrinsic to the community. Her honesty about feeling like an outsider, even amongst queer people and the LGBTQ community, is poignant and relatable, even for people that aren't necessarily within the LGBTQ but marginalized individuals as a whole. It's a reminder that inclusion isn't necessarily always about checking boxes, but it's about genuinely recognizing and acknowledging the presence of people, and as a shared responsibility. One thing I would like to point out is that there is for people hopping into the some poems, such as, for someone unfamiliar with Aoki's voice and some of the context within her stories, I believe some of the poems, such as "My Father Holds Me Like a Bible," might come off as slightly unstructured and having somewhat inconsistent pacing. But I do believe that after a few rereads, someone like myself is able to come to the understanding that it shifts between it is because of this type of structure that it shifts between memoir, political reflection, and cultural critique, and that is why it feels a little off to read within the first few times I've read it. However, after those times, I've come to appreciate the way it's structured, because I know it's not your typical poem layout. In conclusion, Seasonal Velocity is not a book that necessarily offers easy answers and solutions for trans people who came in to maybe expect to find some closure or responses to some of their struggles within their life. But that's because the book doesn't necessarily aim to, in my opinion, the way I interpreted it. Instead, it bears witness to pain, to joy, and resilience, and to the awkward contradictions of being a human being. And for anyone seeking to better understand the experience of trans individuals, or for those who live them and want to feel seen, I do feel like Aoki's words can act as a lifeline. It doesn't necessarily provide answers, but I think it can provide a sense of security and help create a sense of community for those who can relate to a lot of her experiences and what she says. And this book doesn't just ask us to listen, but it invites us to stay and to care, to build something better together.